Good evening, and thanks for joining us here on Tattered Cover. Tonight we've got a great panel for you, Crime Writers in Conversation. This is a fun group. I've enjoyed chatting with them as we started things off here. I'm going to introduce them here real quickly, but I am going to let you know that I'm going to post links to purchase their books online through our web store, tatteredcover.com, during our YouTube chat as we go throughout. So you can go ahead and do that if you so wish. These folks are fun, and they didn't want me to, list all the great titles and things they've done. They just want me to throw it over to them. So without further ado, let's welcome our panel, Crime Writers in Conversation.
All right, since an executive decision was made that I would start by introducing myself, I'm Barbara Nicholas, and I write two series. The first is about a former Marine turned railroad cop and her canine partner, who was also a former Marine. And my new series launched last month with At First Light, and it's quite different. The Sydney books take place in Denver. My new books are in Chicago, and they feature a forensic semiotician. And I'm sure all of you know exactly what that is, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So a semiotician is somebody who studies the signs and symbols in human culture. And a forensic semiotician studies signs left by killers at a crime scene, or any notes or pictures or maps that the killer might send to the media or to police. So think about the Zodiac killer and the notes that he sent to the press that are still undeciphered. So my hero, Dr. Evan Wilding, consults for the Chicago PD as well as several federal agencies, and he helps to solve some of the grisliest and most complicated cases they get. All right, on to Becky.
Hi, everybody. I'm Becky Clark. I am working on two different series right now. The Mystery Writers series, the protagonist on that is a, surprise, mystery writer. The newest one of that is Police Navidad, which was a Christmas release. So that was fun to write about Santa. And my other series is set in the world of crossword puzzles. And the newest one of that is Fatal Solutions. And in that one, she is the way that puzzles come in is that she creates the crossword puzzles for her local newspaper, and it's kind of a secret that she does it, and it's a way for her to subliminally funnel clues to the police chief to get him to investigate in murders and other crimes in the way that she wants him to instead of the way that he's actually doing it. So crossword puzzles and mystery writers, two of my loves. So who's next? Let's see, Cynthia's next.
Hi everyone. I write the Lyla Mclean Academic Mysteries, and all the covers look kind of like this, but they're in different colors. This is the fifth one, actually, the study of secrets, and they feature an English professor turned amateur sleuth. And the second series is the Starlit Bookshop Mysteries. The first one's called How to Book a Murder, and this one just came out in December. And she's a recent PhD, but she's also a bookseller and a literary event planner. So mysteries abound. And Kate.
My name is Kate Lansing, and I write the Colorado Wine Mystery Series. There are 3 books in it out right now. The most recent one that came out was Mauled to Death. And that came out in October, but it features a young vintner who just opened her own winery in Boulder, Colorado, and unfortunately keeps having to expertly pairs wine with solving murders.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we have some questions. I'm not sure who wants to start with a question.
Well, we already started talking about our protagonist a little bit. Should we keep going on about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody talked about that then.
Sure. So I can kick us off. So I as I mentioned, I write about a young winemaker, and what attracted me to writing about this protagonist was she's a dreamer. Each of my books, they're all kind of dreamers, each of the characters. And I really, well, one is she's a little bit younger. She's in her late 20s and she just has this dream. She wants to open her own winery. And I really just, I was really attracted to writing that story. One is I've always, my husband and I have been wine tasting for about a decade now, just as a fun hobby. And for a while we harbored this daydream of opening our own winery, but that's a lot of work. And so this was a way for me to vicariously live through that. But I also really love writing about this younger age group, a little bit, not younger. I mean, I was that age when I first started writing these, really. But there's this want to make your mark in the world, and to, you know, you do the hustle, the side hustle, and you pursue your passions. And it's Parker and the whole crew that she's with through these books. So that's my 2 cents on why I wrote this main character.
I want to hear more about Barb's semiotician. All right.
That's
My
right,
goal-
Semiotician, you get a
Okay.
gold star.
Yay.
Oh my gosh. So this is a character who I was at a writer's boot camp some 20 years ago. So it shows you how long I've been at this. And we were given some sort of exercise in character, which I don't remember the details. All I know is I couldn't sleep that night. And suddenly this character shows up, Evan. I know his name. I know what he does. I know that he works with a cop in some city. And I also know that he has dwarfism, which surprised me because I don't personally know anyone with dwarfism. So it took a lot of research. But as I was working on this book, I've always had not the greatest vision, but it really started taking a nosedive as I was working on this. And so it really gave me an appreciation for what it's like to navigate the world with a disability. And so hopefully that gives Evan a certain spark. I have another character in there who is neurodivergent. He's somewhere on the autism spectrum. So that was interesting too. So clearly I felt like we needed to say something and address what the world is like for some people.
Becky.
Well, I was just I'm just trying to formulate my thoughts. I have my character in my crossword puzzle books suffers with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and she's a little bit depressed. But I kind of came at it from a different direction than Barb did. Barb started with the character. I kind of started with the situation because I knew that she was going to make the crossword puzzles, because I knew that the crossword puzzle part of it was the hook for the series. And I thought, well, who would like to make puzzles? What kind of person would be drawn to create crossword puzzles? And I thought, well, somebody who likes order and neatness and right and wrong and black and white. and it just kind of followed that that's how that character developed. And I had been teaching myself just for fun to make these crossword puzzles because I thought it wasn't going to be nearly as hard as it ended up being. Oh, sure, it'll be easy. So that was kind of hard, but so I started from the opposite direction and kind of found my way to that character.
So Becky, can I jump in with a question? How did was it a sudden epiphany that you were going to write a character who makes crossword puzzles, or were you sitting there one morning working the New York Times crossword puzzle and the light bulb went off over your head?
Kind of. I've been doing crossword puzzles forever. And like I said, I started wanting to create them, seeing what that's like. And at the same time, I needed a new hook for a new cozy series. And, all the good ones are taken, wines and academics, and, I got nothing there. So I thought, maybe I would, and that's kind of where the crossword part of it came in. And then I kind of did it all backwards, I guess, from that. Or maybe I don't know, maybe people do find the hook first and figure out who's going to do that hook. In my mystery writer's mysteries, I mean, she's a mystery writer, so duh. I mean, that's me 30 years ago. You know, she's much more successful than I was when I was 30. But so I didn't really know anything until I started kind of just brainstorming the puzzle world and all of that stuff.
Well, it's a lot of fun.
And you started working down the path of making your own puzzle before even thinking this could be a hook for a cozy. That's so
you know, I don't remember the timing of it. It was pretty close,
Yeah.
you know, and I did realize that if I'm making a cozy series, I gotta have puzzles. So, you know, I kind of have to figure out how to make those. And so it was fun, you know, making the puzzles was really fun because, like I said, I am able to slip the clues in to the actual puzzles that are in the books. And so sometimes I'm not, creating puzzles is hard. There's a lot of moving parts to it and stuff. So there's one time when I changed one of the characters' names so that it would fit in the puzzle. So I'm able to do that because I can mess with stuff, you know, as I'm writing it, because I don't write the whole book and then do the puzzle, because the clues are in the puzzle. So it's kind of a tandem kind of thing. So that was kind of fun to do. And I screwed up one of the puzzles. I can't remember in which book it was, but one of the cardinal sins in a crossword puzzle is you never have the same word in the puzzle, in the same puzzle. You can't have the same word twice in the puzzle. And of course I did. And I didn't notice it until I was so happy I'd filled out the grid, because the last thing you do is write all the clues, you know, for the actual words that are in your grid. And but I got to I had maybe 4 or 5 clues left to write, and it was a word that I already used. Oh no! I mean, it was way too long, way too far gone to fix, and I'm not experienced enough at making the puzzles to just kind of pull it apart and redo it. So I also said in my book something like, you know. So I know I did this wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway because my character said that I have to do this right away. And I know it's a mistake, but so I was able to, you know, you can get away with stuff like that when you make your own stuff. So
A little writerly CYA.
Exactly. I didn't want puzzlers to come back and say, shame on you. You're not supposed to do that. I know, but I couldn't fix it.
Well, I can attest to your effort in that, because I remember when you made your first or second, I don't know, somewhere in the early days, puzzle, and you sent them to some of us to try out. And it was really fun, and some of them were really hard, like right off the bat. You were for it. So, or maybe I'm not good at that. I mean, it could be that I'm just not so good.
And some of them are hard if you were just to do the puzzle. Like if I just handed you the page to do the puzzle, it would be really hard. But if you're reading the book, you know that character's name already, so right. You know you can fill that in pretty easily. You know, so there are a lot of clues for the puzzle that are already part of the context of the book. So, but it is fun to do. It's hard. It's way harder than I thought. Way harder than going wine tasting, which
good choice, Kate.
Pick your hook based on what you want to do, right?
I know. I wasn't really good.
Well, okay, so you're right. Sorry, I don't know. I'm holding my book up again just because I'm going to talk about a bookstore. Okay. My protagonist is she just graduated with her PhD and went back to Silvercrest, Colorado to help her out her family, who owns the Starlit bookshop, I should say. And just like you said, you have to focus on things that you love. What do I love more than books? So I thought I'll have to be a bookstore, and then she'll be someone who could be a professor who turns down a professor position to come home and help her family so that she can talk about literature. And then she's also doing literary events So I just tried every angle I could find to bring in books or authors or anything to do with that. There's a writing group in the book that she joins. She has an aunt who is a professor at a college, so she kind of goes and talks with those people too. I just tried to bring everything bookish that I could think of and have it all in one place. And she, I mean, I realized as I wrote the book, like maybe this is too many things, like too many directions that I'm going in it now. But at the same time, I felt like it provided future opportunities for her. She may choose one path over the other. She's also a writer. She's writing a mystery. There's a lot happening in there that's book related.
Well, that's one of the hard. So one of the things, we all write series, and what you just talked about is like, it's almost like you have to plant enough stuff, like enough potential conflict in that first book, that juiciness, to carry then through a series. So you were thinking about that right off the get-go then for yours, like, okay, this has to carry. And so we can, it's fun in the first book. I think you have to introduce enough to hook in readers and to have a story and to not overwhelm people right away, but there has to be that groundwork there for like, ooh, we'll explore that in books, 2 and 3. What do you guys think? Like pros, cons, writing series. How do you feel about it?
I'm all for it. I am pro series.
I love series because you can kind of think down the road. Whenever I'm writing one book, I have a notebook and I'm writing down what could happen in the next book. And it always seems, I don't know if this happens to you, but it always seems so much more exciting to write about the next thing that you haven't gotten to yet. You have to finish the book first.
It seems so much easier to write the next book than the one you're actually working on.
Yeah, in my head, I'm like, when I get there, it'll be so easy, but no, it never is. But I did start writing a standalone last year, and it felt so completely different because I knew I had to complete the arc within that book. It just felt like I was putting so much time into these characters that were going to be done at the end of the book. So in the series, they're going to kind of continue. So I think I'm still getting used to it. But in any case, it was a different sort of feeling.
I just started writing a standalone too. I've always just written. We lost Cynthia. I just started writing a standalone myself, and it is a different beast. The characters, you don't have to think about how's the ramification of this girl's hair going to play out over the course of 4 books. Do I care if her hair's curly or if it's straight? Because in a series, that might become a plot point, an emotional arc or something. Whereas in a standalone, you don't even have to say. It's the information that you can present can be totally different. On the other hand, for series, it's so much easier to already know these people. After the first book, you know your people so well that that her curly hair is going to give her grief in book 7, for whatever reason. And you don't even have to think about how she'll react to something because you just know how that's going to happen. So, there are pros and cons about all of it.
You guys are so smart. I only wrote a series because I heard it's easier to sell a series than a standalone. But Kate, I want to hear how you decided to write a series.
Well, cozies are usually sold in series. And so when I went on sub with my first book, which is Killer Chardonnay is the first book in the series, I had sort of this idea to pitch for books 2 and books 3. And it was really fun. I think there's something really fun about a series because you can explore some of the more meaty bits that you introduce in the first book. And I think for me, it's been fun like there's obviously there are mysteries, so there's not a ton of romance, but I think for me it's been fun exploring more of a romantic arc through the series. Just a little bit, they progress just a little bit in each one, like they go on a date or agree to go on a date in book 1, and then book 2, like they still like they're still into each other, and and that's been kind of, you can kind of explore that over more time. So I think that's why. And it's been really fun as I write these books. It's like whenever I come to the end, I think, gosh, there's another story to tell with them. And that's kind of cool. I do know these characters really well. Yeah.
So wait, what I'm hearing is you guys know what your next, like your second and third books are going to be?
When we go to pitch, and for me, it was just 2 paragraphs for book 2, and then 1 paragraph for book 3. And I had included titles. I thought there's no way these are going to fly. And then they did. And then you have to come up with an entire book to fit into a paragraph, that fits that paragraph that you sold. Anyway, yeah, I want to hear from Becky and Cynthia too, but that's how it was for me.
Well, wait. No, we got to go back to Barb for a sec.
Yeah.
Are you trying to tell me that your Sydney Parnell series, you didn't think ahead on any of that stuff? Because that's such a great series.
Oh, you're so kind, but no.
Really?
They came back and said, well, okay, we just published your first book. What's the second one about? I'm like, OMG, what? And now I'm trying to figure out, I'm doing dev edits on the second book in the Evan series, and I'm trying to come up with an idea. I need to go to the idea store because I don't have an idea for the third book. I really hope my editor is not on this.
The Sydney Parnell series that you wrote, it seemed so much like it was so natural, because everything you put for Sydney's own personal journey through the series, it just started from book 1. So I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, me too. That's just a testament to how good Barbara Nicholas really is.
Yeah, that was the point I was trying to make, Becky.
Can we back to Barb? Sorry to keep you on the hot seat there, but I was curious what kind of research you did for this particular book, because I know, well, you talked about semiotics and you talked about exploring some things that you hadn't written about before. And I'd like to hear from everyone too. What's your research process like for your latest book?
And then can we talk about pets?
Yeah.
Yeah, my book was super research intensive. I was in grief for much of the time I was working on this book. And so I went back to my college days, buried myself in Beowulf and Old English poetry and Viking culture and runes. And I told my editor, I said, I'm way over researching. And she said, well, just put it all in and then we'll take it out. And that's what happened. They took a lot of it out. I'm like, wait, you mean people don't want to know that there's 3 or 4 different kind of phonic runic rows or alphabets? Surely everyone needs to know that fact. The breakfast table for their crossword puzzles. So yeah, that was me. On to you guys. I'm thinking Kate's research must have been miserable.
Oh, well, we'll come back to that. But wait, I have to know. So you came up with the transliterations in your book, did you, for those? Because the Viking transliterations, I found it to be just so fascinating to read about.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wrote some really bad poetry and then trying to write in the Old English style, like Beowulf, and then transliterated it into the Viking runes. And then I have a really brilliant friend who she went over it like rune by rune by rune to make sure it was right. And then I'd say, oh my gosh, I have to change a line because there's clues buried in the poems. And she's like, no, I don't think so.
See, you should have taken a page from my book and just switched it around to make it match the work that you already did.
I know that trick now, Becky. Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just so cool the way you had 2 experts on Viking rumenology arguing about different transliterations. And I thought, oh my gosh,
it just goes to show what we see what we're looking for, right?
Yeah, I
With
love
anything. So when I read your books, Kate, I have to open a bottle of wine and I have to have something at least passably decent to eat. Because
excellent. That is my goal. I want to make people hungry when they read my stories. I feel like when I first started this series from the first book, it was right after my daughter was born. And I think something I never knew about parents is that they're just hungry all the time. Like no matter how much you eat, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm just dreaming about a sandwich right now.
You don't get over that, Kate.
And so I felt like I was always writing when I was hungry, right? And so I'm like, ooh, I want to eat that. And like that still kind of carries through. I just try and think of like the most fantastical meal and glass of wine I want to have, and that's what goes in. And it is really fun to research. There are recipes included in the back, and that's a part of it. Is I love cooking and I love playing in the kitchen, and I get to do that and come up with my own recipes and pairings. I will say for Mull to Death, I think one really fun bit of research, I put it in quotes because like, it's just fun, right? Like some of the things you get to do for writing are it's just living, it's just having fun and new experiences. But I've been skiing my entire life, but I've never been skiing with a writer's brain, where I wanted to pick out the sounds the boots make as they squelch in snow, and what muscles exactly are twinging when you go down the mountain and you press one ski down and then the other and you shift, and like, what's the smell? And I had to go as a writer getting ready, because this one took place at a ski resort, and I just needed to go and I feel like sometimes like the best parts of research are when you put yourself in a different situation and absorb all of that and the sensory information. So that was something fun I did, was I went skiing.
I love doing that. You're at I don't know, the mall, or you're waiting to get your car serviced or something, and there's somebody nearby who has a really unique look or a really unique voice or just something interesting about them. And I always sit there and I try and think, how would I describe that? What words would I use to paint that picture of that person or that voice or the color of that flower or the way the wind is working? I find that really a fascinating and fun and kind of nerdy exercise now that I say it out loud.
One of the best exercises I've heard as a writer is when you go out, come home with a face.
Come home with a face?
Yeah.
Like,
somebody you can describe, somebody who has
not
struck
your
you.
own.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, not your own.
not literally. Okay, I was trying
Not
to.
saving
Okay.
face, but come
I
home
almost
with,
always come home with my face. Almost always.
yeah,
Someone else's face. Okay.
someone else's face to describe. And as far as places are, I want to go to Cynthia's bookstore though. I really want to spend time there. So can you make that happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I win the lottery, I'll build it for you. How about that?
Wonderful.
Fingers crossed.
Was there a lot of research for you, Cynthia, with creating a bookshop? Because I know we all go shopping at bookstores and bookshops, but was there a lot of research involved in figuring out what goes on behind the scenes?
Well, yes, actually, I reached out to, I can't remember how many, but it was quite a few independent bookstores, and asked if they would answer some questions for me. And I had, including Tattered Cover, and they did also respond. And of course, I love going to bookstores, so I went a couple times and just sort of sat in this space to like you said, with a writer's brain, trying to figure out like what are the sounds, or what does it feel like to be here. But the booksellers that responded were so incredibly helpful. And one person, actually, we had a very long conversation on the phone, and I got so much information, and it helped to create exactly what you're talking about, the behind the scenes. Like probably people who read the book wouldn't even think twice about what it was, but it made it more authentic, and it helped me think about what would they be doing on a particular day. And then the rest of the mystery kind of goes around that. I did actually work in a bookstore before I went to graduate school, so I had that too. But my job in the bookstore, so I was usually ringing people up, but sometimes I got to shelve, which I love to do because then I would see all the new books, but then I would end up like looking at all the new books, and then the books wouldn't get shelved, and then I would get in trouble. So it was not, I had to learn my lesson to kind of, pull back. But I just really, really love bookstores. And I think that, I don't know, I also tried to make this my ideal bookstore. It has everything in it that I would want if I made my own, which I have thought about so many times, just, starting a bookstore here. But luckily we have Tattered Cover, so I'm good. Just go over there instead.
I'm looking at our screen, and Kate and Cynthia and I all write cozies, all set in Colorado, and Barb writes darker stuff set in Chicago.
What's your point, Becky?
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
How did you choose Chicago, Barb?
Yeah, why Chicago?
Oh, because I love it. And as much as I love Denver, I didn't want to do another series based in Denver. And so I love Chicago. I'd only spent a long weekend there. My plan was to spend a lot of time because my husband's aunt lives there. And I was going to actually spend a couple of months really getting to know the city. And then we all know what happened in 2020. Couldn't go anywhere. So I actually start my book out with an apology to people from Chicago. Like, I did my best with Google Maps and talking to people, and the Sisters in Crime group in Chicago were fabulous. They really helped me check my research. And then I finally got to go there after the book came out. I was like, oh, all right. Yay, Google Maps.
Well, that's another question. Yours is set in a real place. Kate's is set in Boulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Becky's is in Parker. Well, no, they're not Parker, they're Denver. Sorry, right?
Yeah. Well, the Mystery Writers is set in the Denver area. The crossword puzzle books are set in kind of a fictionalized Lyman out east a little bit.
Did you know that my husband used to teach there?
I did not know that.
He taught in Lyman for several years. Okay, that's a very long drive from where we lived, but every day he was dedicated.
And Cynthia, both your series are set in a made up town, right?
Completely fictional. Yeah.
Yep, they're both fictional. I had originally wanted to have it in a real town, but then I got so confused about all the where the streets and can I write about restaurants that exist? Like, I didn't know. So I thought I would just completely invent them, start to finish. And it was a relief in a lot of ways to do that. But I will say that the bookshop mysteries are inspired by sort of a combination of Estes Park and Morrison that have that the river running right next to the street where people shop and things like that. I just think that's so beautiful. And so I tried to recreate it.
And very artistic. I loved it. I loved the way you had, I don't know. Yeah, I could picture Morrison when you say it. I can definitely picture that, and Estes.
Thank you.
Well, Kate, I don't know Boulder all that well. Do you use any specific places?
I do.
Other than like streets and stuff? Do you use buildings or landmarks or anything like that?
I do. I have a lot of fun with it. So I and I get a lot of questions about this, but it's a real Boulder, Colorado. There are real places in it, like Parker's Winery is in North Boulder, where there are actually a lot of like wineries, microbreweries, galleries, that sort of thing. And I use real streets, and the CU Boulder campus and the Flatirons and all the hiking trails are very real. Restaurants, I include some. Like, my favorite sandwich shop is Snarf's. So like, for some reason I was like, oh, she's gonna go get a sandwich, she may as well go to Snarf's. It's kind of like a Boulder staple, though. It's like very well known if you live in Boulder. And then there's some, though, I don't want to throw shade. That's how I say it. I don't want to throw shade on anywhere that could be taken in a bad way. Like, not all hotels recover like The Shining, right? So like, if I'm going to include it in like a mystery way, I try and fictionalize it just so there's no confusion. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So some real, and then some just figments of my imagination.
Yeah. And that was my big fear too. You know, I was afraid not to set stuff in Colorado because I know I'm native Coloradan, so I know Colorado really well. I know what stuff smells like and what the weather's like, and all that stuff. But I was kind of afraid to use real places. So I can use, like in my mystery writer's mystery, where they're driving around town, I can use real street names and stuff. That's no problem. But I think all the businesses I talk about are fictional. And then with my, without in Lyman out there, that's east for me. I just basically used I wanted a city away from Denver, a freestanding city. I wanted it to be close to Denver, but not too close. And basically, I just took their map and just changed all the street names and did all that stuff. I just used that grid, basically.
Nice.
Very pretty. It's very pretty out there. I'm getting some comments in the chat, so I'm going to relay these to you. The first one is Tracy Hartman requests that Becky please kiss Nala's nose for her. So special
I
love.
can't, I have chapstick on and I'll get all hairy, so
Okay.
that's not gonna happen.
Maybe later.
Just a bit later.
I
Okay.
almost always do though when I have chapstick on.
Stina from Sisters in Crime. Hi, Stina. Norco says that she is available to talk runes anytime you want, Barb.
All right. Yay.
All right. Maybe you two should give a presentation. We should tell Sisters in Crime to yeah, right. Okay, doing a little work on the side, everyone. Sorry. Okay. Brooke wants to know if there is such a thing as making your heroine in your cozy too much like yourself.
So I'm gonna just say I think it is so funny. People think I'm Parker all the time, especially past coworkers of mine just assume I'm Parker, and Parker's way cooler than I am, and we have a lot in common. I think we can't help but put some of ourselves into our cozy characters, and I don't think there's any way that they're too much like us. I think Parker's I put things in her that I wish I were better at sometimes. And like, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think the answer would be, you can't make a character too like yourself. Although it is really funny when people assume you're Parker and then you think through everything you've written in your book and you're like, do they think I think that or do that? Or
Like
not
second guessing
symbols?
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this a little bit before. You make up these characters and you have to write something. They have to eat something. And so Charlie Russo in my mystery writer's mystery, she her comfort food is grilled cheese, which you're just typing along and that's what happens. Well, then that's what always has to happen, and it only went in there because I was probably hungry for grilled cheese, So in that way, yes, there are a lot of similarities. And, in a mystery writer's mystery where she's a mystery writer, okay. But she's 30 years younger than I am. She's, much more successful. She's cuter. She's, that's the beauty of writing characters. You get to, project whatever you want onto them. So yeah, there are similarities, I'm sure. Even, in Barb's stuff, where it's not, it's a completely different type of character. I'm sure there's bits and pieces of Barb Nicholas in each one of those characters, in the same way that all of my dogs in all of my series, they all stem from Nala, from my dog, even if it's a pug or a German Shepherd or, everything. There are similarities, there are traits that you can take from all places and put them in there.
I don't know okay. I felt like we were wrapped up that question nicely, but I will say that I did the entire first year after my book came out, people were like, you're Lyla. Lyla is you. And I no, it's a character. I wrote a character and everyone just told me I was wrong. So maybe I was wrong. Renee Ruderman observes in the chat that students love sci-fi and fantasy. Do elements of those genres sneak into your mysteries?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just cutting to the Life of Brian, that Monty Python. We're right in the middle of the movie about during the time of Jesus, that spaceship comes down, picks him up, takes him around the universe, and then drops him back off. Okay, totally irrelevant. Kate, back to you.
No, I want to hear. Okay, so I'll just say yes because I love science fiction and fantasy as well. I can't get enough of it. And so I have a side character, the best friend, Sage, is a total fangirl, and she does cosplay, and she always is wearing an accessory or talks in things that are the fandom because I love that stuff. So yes, it sneaks in, even though now, but I want to hear it from Barb because you talk about Beowulf and Tolkien and all of these awesome things in your book. So that has to sneak in.
Yes, all those fantastical elements, I love them. And even though my book doesn't have a fantastical ending, which apparently upset some readers, It's so fun. It's so fun to feel like sometimes we walk next to that world, when we're going through a spooky wood or looking at the moon. I don't know. It is fun to pull that in, and having bog bodies that's so eerie, and the way these people were killed in these bogs. It's definitely went all in on the fantastical elements. It was my old Society for Creative Anachronism personality coming out.
Well, and Cynthia's Calliope character is very over the top, fantastical, kind of. She could fit into that kind of category, I think.
I think you're right. She's yes, she marches to her own drum. Is that a saying? I feel like that's where she came in. I was thinking about the first series though. By the third book, they're in a haunted opera house, which we did go to the Stanley Hotel, Kate, and take the ghost tour in order to prepare for that. And we went to a couple different haunted opera houses as research. And there's a hint of a ghost in the last one of that too. So I think in my case, it's more Gothic sort of sneaks in because I love Gothic. I teach the Gothic literature classes, and I think, yes. And also the protagonist in the first series also teaches Gothic. So she teaches it and it comes in. Calliope Nightfall is direct straight line from people who like Gothic, because she is full on, she's a goddess. That's what she calls herself. And so she right after someone gets murdered at a party that was a murder mystery party featuring Edgar Allan Poe, she decides she wants a party that features Edgar Allan Poe, which like to some people might be like, wait, oh no, that's wrong. But for her, somehow it just invigorated her because it happens to align with something that she's working on. And she just grew and grew and grew in energy as the book went on. So she's the number one, people ask me about her the most. So
I picture her at about 12 feet tall. You're just enormous, just this enormous flowing robe kind of gal.
Larger than life.
Yeah, she's always so fun to write.
Although I want Sage's earrings.
Her jewelry,
her Star Trek pens,
right. Well, we have about 5 minutes left, so is there anything else specifically that you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about what you're working on next? Does anyone else have any questions for us in the audience that you would like us to answer? Oh, it's that excruciating wait time, just waiting.
Well, maybe you could start by talking about your next book.
Mm-hmm. Let's do that.
Okay, go.
Becky, what's your next book?
My next book is, I don't know yet.
That's pretty exciting.
I'm probably gonna write, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the standalone. And I have a new series. I have another series that I want to start thinking about, kind of planning that out. I'm very excited about that. So it could be that I put out 3 books last year, so it might be another 3-book year. We'll see.
I don't know how you do it.
I don't either, actually.
How about you, Kate?
The 4th book in my series will be out this fall. It's called Till Death Do Us Port.
You're having way too much fun with that.
Oh, cozy mystery titles are the best to come up with. They're so
they really are.
A challenge. And Barb, how about you?
Oh gosh, my second book, I'm in dev edits right now. It'll come out next December. And I had to promise the voice actor who narrated the first book that there's no runes, there's no weird alphabets, there's no bizarre poetry. He's safe. It's okay. No ancient Aramaic texts. But it is about ancient Hebrew texts, and the whole antiquities market and forgeries and fraud and the criminal network behind that. So it was a lot of fun to dive into that. Third book, I need an idea. Please, somebody send me something.
I can see your book already, even though you haven't written it yet. I can see it as a movie. It just sounds already like I'm casting for it in my head. It sounds
Oh, we
exciting.
can all dream, right? You
Yeah.
get calls and then you wait, nothing happens.
What about you, Cynthia?
I am working on revisions for the second book in the Bookshop Mystery Series. It's called In the Event of Murder. And I'm working as hard as I can.
Nice play on event and
Oh,
yeah,
Thank you so
nice.
much. Thank you so much. In the second book, some celebrities come to town from Hollywood, and there will be a New Year's Eve gala, and lots of mayhem. I guess is the next step. Oh, we have one more question. How important are reviews to you? Do you take some of the advice from readers?
I am. So I'll start. They always tell writers not to read your reviews. I actually like to, because I like to get a pulse on if readers are connecting. And especially, so this is my first series. The first book was my debut. And I just wanted to know, am I hitting the audience? Are people accepting it? And I think I've learned a lot about the cozy audience through reading reviews. And that's been kind of cool. Like for me, it seems like you can't have enough pets in cozy mysteries. It was like more cats. And my editor told me that in the edits of the first book. And I was like, okay, sure. I love cats. I love pets. Let's add in more of Zin, short for Zinfandel, the cat character. But it's been something that I've just noticed. Like that's just one example, but I try and pick things out. And yeah, I'll try and address it in future books if I can, if it fits with my own voice and writing style, because I think it's fun.
Can we take a brief segue to pets? What's the pet in your book? Because Barb wanted to talk about pets. What is the pet in your book, Barb?
Oh, because I always have to be weird. It's a hawk.
Oh, cool.
I
Which
love it.
really is not a
it.
pet. It's sort of a very irritable companion.
That's true.
It's named Ginny, which I thought was fantastic. I love pet names. I
forgot
always
about
remember pet names.
I think we should all have hawks now.
Yeah, no, I want hawks. I totally forgot about your hawk. How about you, Becky?
Oh, I don't know cats. I'm allergic to cats. We never had cats when I was a kid. So you'll probably never see a cat in my book because I don't know anything about cats, but I have dogs all over the place. In one of my books, this one, Metaphor for Murder, in one of the mystery writers, Peter O'Drool, the pug, takes center stage for that one. And like I said, even though he's a gassy little pug with bad breathing, he's every dog. So he's the upstairs. He belongs to the neighbors upstairs from where Charlie Rousseau lives, and so he's kind of her dog too. So you see him a lot, and so he's always fun to write about. Gassy little guy.
I've two. Okay, so I have a cat. The cat's name is Anne Shirley. She pretty much runs the bookshop, and there's a dog named Paisley who's a Yorkie, whom I adore. The chat says we're getting lots of nice comments from viewers. Thank you so much for coming and visiting us, and thank you for the congratulations on our new releases. We appreciate that. And just, I guess we're supposed to wrap it up. So thank you, everyone. It was really nice to hang out with you.
Always fun.
Lots of fun, guys.
Thank you, Tattered Cover.
Thanks, Tattered Cover.
Thank you.
Thanks, my fellow panelists and everybody watching. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Thanks. Bye.